Probably not, because that'd be stalking.
Yeah, that'll be funny. Yeah, yes, I do know.
Kai Sandom.
Kai
Kai
Sandom.
Sandom, yeah.
What's a Kai Sandom?
Kai Sandom was the school bully.
All right.
And he made my life hell. And in England, at the age of 16, you do options for your A levels and then go to university. And my best subject was French. I was like top for years in French. And Kai Sandom was doing French, and there was only one French set. And I thought, can I really sit in the same room as that arsehole for another 2 years?
All right.
So I said no.
Yeah,
and I stopped doing French. And it was stupid because it was my best subject. And when I went to university, I did fucking Latin instead, which I hated.
All right. Yeah, Latin. Yay.
It's a kind of like sliding doors, isn't it? The sort of snowball effect, one stupid decision. So.
And then you find yourself in Poland starting a new life, all because you didn't take French.
Just because of one idiot. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Did you tell him? Did you make fun of him? Do you get your revenge in your stand-up?
Yeah, but revenge, as they say, it's a dish that has to be eaten cold. So it's not quite the same, is it? So.
No.
But, I'm over it now, which is why I'm talking about it to a complete stranger 25 years later.
There we go.
Yeah. So, how are you anyway?
I'm good. Oh, that's a beautiful, intimate moment. That was very nice.
That's right. Yeah, I'm perfectly happy to share that.
Well,
so I'm just intrigued because you've got like Bowie and Buddha.
Yeah, that's because this is a background I found.
It's not real.
It's not real. It's well done, isn't it?
It's very well done. Yeah.
I have another one. The other one I have is this one.
Oh no!
But now people say, "Oh, there's a guy looking at you in the back." And,
yeah. Well, no, because the strange thing about The Office is that all day people are at work and they complain about it. So I've got to go home and relax, watch some television.
Go and watch
the fucking Office.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. And I read that one of the actors. Yeah, I think one of the actors or the writers said, "Oh, fuck that! I don't want to work in an office." So he gets this writing gig. And it's writing about The Office. Yeah, it's writing.
Yeah. No, but it was great, man. I have to be brutally honest. I wasn't overstruck with the American one. I didn't like it as much. No, because you know why? It's because they lost that contact with reality that the English one had. Yeah. It turned into a sort of cartoon, because the great thing about the British Office is that it was believable, right?
Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah.
And it was. I mean, the classic example is Dwight.
Yeah.
Right, because Dwight is hilarious. I mean, he's a great actor. He's very funny, but he's not a real person.
No.
There is nobody like that in reality. And if there was, you wouldn't employ them in an office for 10 years, right?
Sure. So, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah. The other ones are, we always know someone who is a bit like one of them. Like but maybe not to that extent.
No, exactly, because it's like Dwight. Dwight was based on Gareth, and the whole thing about Gareth is that he's not a sympathetic character, but he's believable, and you can identify with him because there's a bit of the nerd in everybody.
Yeah.
And Dwight is hilarious, but he's a cartoon character.
Yeah.
He's just like on another planet. So
yeah. It was funny. Well, but of course, Michael Scott is really good.
No, it's very well made. It's a different. Yeah, because I remember once. It's hilarious because I was talking to somebody about it, and they said only an English person could say something like this. He said, "The thing about the American Office is they Americanized it." I said,
yeah, thank you.
Wow, it's an American.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, wow. They never thought about that.
Well, because one of my favorite shows ever is The Young Ones.
All right, The Young Ones. I didn't see that one. No.
Oh well, no, The Young Ones is just it was brilliant. It was when I was about 10 years old, and it just knocked me out. It's the energy. It's just crazy. It's all
the
over
Young
the
Ones.
place.
But is it with the?
It's Rick Mayall.
Rick Mayall. No, I have to check it out. I didn't see it. I didn't.
Oh, it's brilliant.
I lived in England. I lived in England in 2001.
Oh no, this was 82, 84.
Yeah, and then 2007. So yeah. I've seen all the Monty Python thing, all the Blackadder, and then
Oh,
I think
Blackadder, yeah.
the next one was Little Britain. I think, like, so there's
Little
this
Britain's
gap.
good, yeah, yeah. Well, one of the writers of Blackadder co-wrote the Young Ones, but it's very, very different.
Yeah, because I've the young
Ben
ones.
Elton.
Ben Elton, yeah, right, okay. Because
Yeah.
I've heard the Stephen Fry,
Yes.
his autobiography, and he talks about Ben Elton a lot and how
He's a
they.
big fan of Ben Elton, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a big admirer of Ben Elton, yeah, partly because of his work ethic, because Ben Elton worked very, very hard, And when you watch the Young Ones, it seems totally anarchic, but it isn't. It's very intelligent. There's a lot of thinking behind it. And Ben Elton actually it's fascinating because when Rick Mayall and his girlfriend wrote the first episode of the Young Ones, it wasn't doable. Right, and they presented it to the BBC and they said, we like the energy, but we can't do it. And they remembered Ben Elton, who was 2 years younger from university, and he used to knock out a play a week.
Yeah.
And they gave it to him, and over one weekend, he basically made it filmable.
Yeah. He was, everybody, talks about him
Yeah,
in that way.
he had more of a sort of traditional background. He's, like traditional sitcom and theatre. The others were more sort of Python, all over the place. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's crap now.
It's
He
crap
was
now.
good. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, he's got worse and worse. But back in the day,
he was the man. Yeah, I just finished listening to John Cleese book. So anyway, and it's funny because when you see all those abstract, crazy things, you think, oh, these guys are crazy. But when you hear them talking about it, well, you have to have props and the crew, and the sketch has to be written, and it looks absurd, but there's a lot of planning into it.
The beauty of Monty Python is that I watched it when I was 10, and I thought it was funny because I thought it was slapstick. I thought it was Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
And it was almost Benny Hill, the funny music and the silly walk. And then you watch it again when you're older and you realize just how intelligent they were.
Yeah.
I mean, the classic example is like the upper class twit of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that one, where there's a contest for the most stupid aristocrat, basically.
I know that there's that kind of the Olympics or something. You have to run.
Yeah, but you see, that's a brilliant example because I saw that when I was 10 and I thought it was Benny Hill, just people running around being stupid.
Yeah.
And which is funny, which is fine.
Yeah.
And then you watch it again and you realize it's a very potent satire on rich people with no money, because they're all Oxford and Cambridge people, so they would have met that kind of character.
Yeah.
And everything they do is actually part of the stupidity. Or the other one that I love with Python is marching up and down the square in the meaning of life.
Oh, well, I don't remember it exactly, but I saw the movie.
It's where Michael Palin is the sergeant major, and they have to march up and down the square, and they've all got better things to do. So in the end, he marches up and down the square on his own.
All right. Okay. I don't remember that.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant because I had that when I was 10. I had that in a book, and my friend and I thought his face was really funny. Yeah. And then you watch it again now, and it's not just stupid; it's intelligent, because the army is a waste of time, it is a waste of money, and they have all these stupid processions that don't mean anything, and you get all the different levels in it, which I love.
Yeah, you just dress up and pretend something is act like it's like in Portuguese, and it's like the army in Portugal is like, the enemy is there. So what enemy? No one cares.
Yeah, exactly.
These Spanish people, don't give a fuck. No one will come to invade this, this shithole.
I know.
So but imagine there's the enemy, and what the fuck?
Yeah, it's the enemy. Pointless waste of time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Waste of time and money, but anyway, that's cool.
Yeah, that's so. Now you are in Rome.
Yeah.
Doing English stand-up. That was wow.
Yeah, I do English. I do stand up in English and Italian.
Oh, you do it in Italian as well. All right, that's cool.
Yeah, I do. I much prefer doing it in English. It's more difficult. Sorry, no, I'm a teacher. It's more challenging and demanding.
Oh, right, I see that. Yeah.
No.
Hey, you said more difficult.
No, it's more challenging and demanding. No, because I remember when I did teacher training, they said you never say difficult, you say challenging.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so
being a stand-up comedian with that. No, they're not retards. No, they're not retarded. No. They never say that.
It was but the reason it's easier is because when you do stand-up, you're not really acting with a script. You
Yeah.
know, you have to interact with the audience and you have to live the moment. There was a guy that I know. He's a very nice guy. He's a professional comedian. He's got far more experience than me. And he said, when you do live stand up, um, if you have 7 minutes, prepare 7 minutes. But if something happens, you have to forget the script and just react and talk about it. And you probably won't get through your 7 minutes. Doesn't matter. Save it for next time.
Yeah.
And the point is, because Italian, I mean, my Italian's fine, but because it's not my first language, my reflexes are 10 times slower,
Yeah.
you know. And if something happens, you know, and I'm speaking in English, you just react immediately and make a joke about it. But with Italian, my brain has to make that
Mm.
little jump. And by that time, the moment's lost. Do you
Yeah.
see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's much easier in
Yeah.
English, much,
Makes
much
me think
easier.
of Eddie Izzard. He's doing some shows in French,
Mm.
and he says something. He probably makes a mistake, and somebody laughs and says, "Qu'est-ce que j'ai dit?" And he goes, "No, qu'est-ce que j'ai fucking dit?" Il a dit
Yeah, no, it's the same with me. Like if something
yeah,
happens, I tend to react in English because my brain is
yeah,
thinking in English. No, but Eddie Izzard is great because to my knowledge, he's the only comedian you can watch twice on the same tour.
yeah.
Because I saw him when I was at university, years ago, about 94, you
Wow.
know, and I went back home for the holidays. And by a strange coincidence, he was playing in the town where I lived. And my mate said, we're going to watch Eddie Izzard. And I said, no, I've just seen him on this tour. Don't have to see him again. And they said, Mike, you can either come out with us or sit in a cold, dark room watching television. I said, fine.
Mm.
And I have to be honest, about 40% was different.
Yeah,
Really. I mean, the,
yeah,
the, 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 the basis was the same. He has the same mental map, but he just goes off
yeah, yeah,
tangent, And there
yeah.
was one bit which I loved him for because he said, ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing this tour for 2 months and I'm bored of it. So can you give me another subject?
All right.
And somebody said something and he just went with it for 20 minutes. It was great.
Yeah, he's cool with that. Well, I've seen some. Well, he's one of my idols, Eddie
I
Izzard,
can understand that, yeah,
and
because he is.
it's cool because he's doing it in multiple languages. I'm doing it in multiple languages, and
Yeah.
that's cool. And but it's the humor, the kind of crazy. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I find myself
Oh, yeah.
imitating him. So I,
Yeah.
I have a podcast with a guy with Matt, a guy. You'll probably
Oh.
watch this. What the fuck? A guy? No, Matt.
Who is it?
Matt, who is the first person who believed in my comedy, and
Good.
hired me to do videos. So that was really cool. And now we do a
All right.
podcast together, and
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, and when we're doing the podcast, and he said, "Yeah, so your one of your catchphrases is so yeah," and I said in the podcast,
Yeah.
"Well, that's Eddie Izzard. So yeah, kids, they're
Yeah.
doing something, and because
Oh, no, but you do, yeah. Yeah. My first ever stand-up routine I didn't do. I was at university and I got the theatre wrong.
oh,
So by the
righty,
time, yeah, but it was all for the best because my first stand-up routine was absolute rubbish. And the reason it was rubbish is because I didn't want to be a comedian. I wanted to be Jack D.
all right.
Right. And I wasn't really interested in what makes people laugh. I just thought, do you know Jack D?
No, I have no idea.
He was great. Back in like 91, he was my dream comedian. He was just very sarcastic, very dry. And he was the opposite of the sort of animated, all right at the back. And he used to tell people in the audience to fuck off if he didn't like them.
Yeah,
And the first time I was at university, and the great thing about university is you have opportunities to do things that you just don't get in
yeah.
a normal job. And it was like, oh God, I want to. And I just sat down and I just wrote a failed Jack D routine,
All right.
and it wasn't funny at all. Maybe if you gave it to Jack D, you could have made it funny, but just
Yeah.
me standing there doing it. And but I think it's normal. I think everybody has their influences.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
that's sure. And someone who expresses your kind of humor,
Totally. Yeah.
Already they are already
Yeah.
doing what the thing you want to do. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's not a problem. It's like I really like it. And if because of what I do, if someone says, hey, or if someone, what do you do? I say, well, have a look at Izzard, and they go, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be glad to have been able to share
Oh
that.
yeah. Yeah.
It's like on the in the John Cleese book, he's just saying about the goons, as what
Mm.
inspired him, whatever. And he goes,
Oh yeah.
well, if you never heard the goons, I'm so jealous of you because you will be able to listen to it for the first time,
Oh
whereas
yeah.
he knew everything by heart, and he played with them and all that. So yeah.
But it's the same for anything. About years ago, I wanted to write fiction, and I was absolutely obsessed with Salinger,
All right.
right? Catcher in the Rye, and fuck all else, basically. That is Salinger. um, there's a myth that he was knocking out masterpiece after masterpiece in his home. I don't believe it. I think he was just drinking and watching Desperate Housewives like everybody else. But anyway, um, and it's funny because years later, I came across a short story that I'd written. I'd forgotten about it, and reading it, it was 100% Salinger.
Yeah.
The style, the mannerisms, the structure, even little phrases that had entered. But I don't have a problem with that because I think that's how you learn.
Yeah. It's
It's a problem if you plagiarize someone and sell it as your work. But if you're just writing for yourself, I think it's important, and it's the best way.
yeah.
It's the best way
I,
to do
I
it.
heard about someone. Yeah, again on the John Cleese book. That's the advice he gives. Like, if you just steal, and but no,
Yeah.
don't plagiarize. But if something works and something is funny, well,
Oh
do
yeah. If you
something
enjoy
like
it.
that. And I've been reading a lot about screenwriting and for movies and for stuff like that. And there's one book called Save the Cat, where the guy gives a few tips about, and it's a bit not distressing but disappointing that he tells you, okay, there's only
Um,
10 movies in Hollywood,
yeah.
and then he
Yeah.
tells you all the genres. Okay, there's 10 genres, and in those genres it's always the same movie. And then when you watch a movie and you go, oh man, I know what's going
Yeah.
to happen now,
Yeah.
and then it but he says, well,
It's
screenwriting is doing the same as this as
yeah.
it has done, but differently. So, oh man.
Yeah. It's you see that's fascinating because it's exactly the same with comedy. When I think when you discover the reveal mechanism,
Yeah,
I think 50% of comedy is no longer funny because you know why they're doing it.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
reveal when you hide you hide a fact and then you kick it out so it's surprise. Because there was a Jack D line that I thought was very funny, which is where he said, I used to sit in the trolley at the supermarket. He's talking about kids in the supermarket, and he said,
hmm
I used to sit in the trolley, and I used to try and steal sweets at checkout. And my mother, she said, Jack, you're 25 years old,
hmm
you know. And when I was a kid, that's hilarious. But now it doesn't make me laugh because I understand what he's doing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've
It's the
understood the
same, the same,
mechanism.
the same. Okay, I don't want to go to school because the kids tell me, oh, but you're the
Yeah,
principal.
exactly. And
Oh, right, okay.
every comedian has done that joke, you see. And
Yeah.
when you don't know the mechanism, it's hilarious. But when you know it, it's like, yeah, I could see where. Because the hilarious thing is that when I started writing sketches, because I do sketches as well, um, I didn't like any of them. And there was one sketch that I really did like, and it was my favorite little sketch, you know.
hmm
And it was about somebody applying to be the village idiot.
All right.
Right, because I just thought it'd be funny, like applying. You apply to be an accountant or you apply to be a professor. Just apply for something nobody would actually think of applying to. And it was the one sketch that I really liked, and I actually put it online. And this was about 10 years ago when online was exciting.
Yeah.
Now it's the opposite. Now it's like radio is just the most obvious thing. And I didn't get any reactions. And then somebody wrote, well done. I didn't know where that was going. You wouldn't happen to like Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie, would you? And they put a link to a Fry and Laurie sketch, and it
Yeah.
was exactly the same as my sketch,
All right. Oh, it's cool.
more or less. Yeah, but the funny thing is that he pointed it out to me. I remembered that sketch, and I remember liking it. But I didn't sit down and think, right, I'm going to write the same sketch. There's just something in my brain. It just triggered something that I
Yeah.
really liked.
Yeah.
And when he pointed it out, I thought, oh my God, yeah, it's the same sketch essentially,
Yeah, that's
So
great.
it's
That's
lucky I
that's
didn't do anything with it. Yeah, but it's nice. Like the Beatles. I'm a big fan of the Beatles, but the first 5 years, the Beatles were covering rock and roll.
hmm.
It took a long time before they developed their style.
Yeah, yeah. It's what you do. Like, yeah. And at a certain point, you don't even know where it comes from. So I have an idea, and you just
Yeah,
go
yeah.
for it. But of course, myself, all I do now is either read, write, perform, or teach comedy. So that's all I do, and I spend my time, So if I don't, I can't say if my idea was original, because it's an inspiration. But you watch so much, and you read so much, and
Oh
you
yeah,
can't
yeah,
know anymore.
yeah. Nothing's completely original. Do you know
No,
what
I
I
had
mean?
a mm,
No, no, go on.
yeah. I was saying that I have this character. He's a bad singer from Portugal. He's a romantic singer, and he sings, and it's shit. Well, it's shit, but I like the niche for this singer is the cringe bit. Well,
Oh yeah.
where you sing and your friends, people who know you, they don't know what you are doing. So no one comments on my stuff. No one say, "Hey, that
Yeah.
was hilarious," and no one says it was great. So there's this kind of this cringe feeling. And
Yeah.
why was I saying this? I forgot.
Mm.
Ah, it was.
No, just like
Oh yeah,
ideas.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I made this video of me singing "The Sound of Silence" by like a karaoke thing by Disturbed, because he's really big voice and stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, it was so bad. It was the first time I was nearly embarrassed of doing something. So I put fart noises inside, like as if I was shitting myself trying to get to the
Yeah.
high notes. So I put fart noises, and I laughed so much. And then I thought, oh, I have an original idea. I'll do a reaction video to my video, and that
Yeah.
was something. It has probably been done, but at that moment, I thought, this has never been done. No
Oh
one
no,
has ever made one reaction video to their own video singing, like if
yeah.
like vocal coaches do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
They just
sometimes,
go on and on and on. Yeah.
but I'm sure it has been done. But anyway, that's fun.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, everything's been done ultimately. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just the way that you do it. Um, because there was a sketch that I really liked, and it was actually recorded by a podcast, and it was somebody interviewing Bin Laden.
All right.
Right, this is when Bin Laden was still alive. It'd be a bit
Yeah.
strange to do it now.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that she interviews Bin Laden like he's a pop singer, or like sort of. Do you prefer Cameron Diaz or Megan Fox? And
That's really
what's
cool. The
yeah, but
man behind
what's
the. That's cool.
and what's funny is that Bin Laden replies in the same way. It's like, well, it's difficult to say because Cameron Diaz is sexy, but she's not. This kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the idea for that came, like you say, nothing's original because it's a classic idea. I've seen 100 sketches where the interviewer is stupid and the interviewee is very important, and they ask him stupid questions. And I've seen the opposite, where the interviewer wants to talk about something serious. So I just thought, wouldn't it be funny if they were both stupid?
Yeah. That's
You know what I mean? So in a sense, it's not original because it was just taking an idea
yeah.
in a different way. So, but I mean, you can't be original all the time anyway.
No.
It's like sitcoms. There's a fascinating book I've got about a sitcom, and apparently there are 20 situations that they just do, and it's the characters who make it different. You know,
Yeah.
like the gas man coming, right, or the school reunion. That's another one. How
Yeah.
many sitcoms done the school reunion for? Or
Yeah.
like an old flame who comes to stir things up again.
Yeah.
And basically it's like Friends. I mean, Friends was great, but if you look at it, they were just taking the tradition of sitcom
Yeah.
and giving very strong characters to it. It took it
Yeah.
in their own direction.
Yeah. But it's fascinating. It really is. Like when you get interested in comedy, and at a certain moment, I read a bit about sitcoms, and there was the family sitcom in the 50s,
Yeah.
whatever, the family. And then it became uh, um, yeah, I don't remember what it was, but the place, a
Yeah,
sitcom about a place, like a place of work, like with The
yeah,
Office, and you have people who work together, and then you get, and even it's like
yeah,
sitcoms and drama, it's all it's the same, like
yeah,
and people who just live in the same place, or people who have nothing in common or whatever, and then this kind of movement when you look at it from a distance, you say, oh, this is what they're doing, and
yeah, yeah.
now someone says workplace comedy is dead because if in hospital, lawyers, the office, the
Oh,
police
yeah,
place, all the like
yeah, yeah.
work related
Yeah, the hotel. Yeah,
hotel. I love the Hotel Babylon. I really liked that when I was in
yeah.
England. That was funny. I like
I
the
missed
Spanish
that,
guy.
man.
I
I've
like
missed
the
so
pussy.
much, really.
Uh,
Well, there was one called Forty Towers that did quite well back in the day, apparently. So,
oh yeah, yeah,
yeah. But,
exactly.
well, no, but it's because the problem with a sitcom is the reason why a lot of sitcoms, as I'm sure you know, the reason why a lot of sitcoms are based in the family or the workplace is because the paradox is you have to put people who don't like each other together and make them stay together.
Yeah, yeah, because there's no conflict. If it's,
Exactly. And the problem is that in real life, if you don't like somebody, you don't spend time with them.
yeah,
So if it's the family, you have to, and if it's the workplace, you have to, and
yeah,
that's why they do it. Even the young ones, because the young ones was about 4 students, and a lot of people wrongly they criticized it because it didn't take a stand about student life. It didn't say anything about university. It wasn't criticizing,
mm,
the education establishment. And they said because we weren't trying to do that. He said the reason why we made them all students was because young people can be obnoxious. And when you're a student, you have to share a house with someone.
yeah,
So it was just a pretext to put 4 horrible people in the same place,
sure,
you know,
sure.
and get them to sort of, because otherwise you don't hang out with people you hate. There's no point.
Yeah, yeah, just
Uh,
just fuck off and that's it.
well, no, because I read once that situation comedy isn't situation comedy; it's character comedy,
Mm.
and the situation is just a pretext. Because if you take characters like Basil Fawlty or Rick from The Young Ones, you could put them in a spaceship and they'd be funny.
Sure. Oh
You
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, yeah,
it's just an excuse to get all these people in the same place. And
yeah,
it's interesting what you said about a family, because Ben Elton said that someone suggested to him much later that The Young Ones was a sort of family sitcom.
mm.
Not because they're a traditional family, but because you had like a father figure and a mother figure. And he said there's probably a lot of truth in that, but I didn't think that when I was writing it.
Yeah,
It was just a sort of natural
yeah,
thing. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. What amazes me is we are both trying to write comedy and doing our thing, but then you see like comedy movies and you see it's shit, and that's where I find hope.
um,
So, these people are doing it. It's shit. It's
Um,
bad.
there is a lot of shit going around. I'm not a big fan of comedy movies. There's an article somewhere on Chortle. It's an English comedy web page that I used to send them articles when the internet was still exciting.
Mm.
And I was writing about films, and comedy films for me don't work because you can't sustain that kind of comedy.
No, you can't. Yeah,
You,
no, you
you,
have to use
you,
dramatic structure
you
and
need it. Well, I mean, the classic example is Laurel and Hardy, right? Because the Laurel and Hardy short films, 20 minutes, are brilliant because they're little pressure cookers.
yeah,
They're just they're so intense, and every mannerism, every look at the camera, every line is funny, and you can't do that for 90 minutes. It doesn't
no,
work. And it's fascinating when Laurel and Hardy did the longer movies in Hollywood. They used to have two films going on at the same time. They had the funny scenes that they were doing, and then
hmm,
they'd have a dramatic plot with another director
all
and
right,
another actor. And in particular, there's one Laurel and Hardy film, Bonnie Scotland, and it's fine. I mean, it's fine by most people's standards, but it's frustrating because you're watching two films. You're
yeah,
watching 10 minutes of Laurel and Hardy slapstick and then 10 minutes of like a romantic drama, like a gangster story. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
Stan himself, Stan Laurel, he said personally he was never completely satisfied with the longer movies.
mm,
because that wasn't really what they were trying to do. They were just trying to be funny.
Right.
And I think one of the best Laurel and Hardy films is the music box, the one about the piano.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Have you seen it?
I've seen a lot of stuff from them, but it's all mixed up in my mind. I don't
No, I can
remember them
imagine because
separately.
they are a bit samey, actually.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
no, but the music box is the only one that won an Oscar,
All right.
right? Because the critics were snobs about Laurel and Hardy. They liked Charlie Chaplin because he was an intellectual and like, you know,
Yeah.
and they tended to snub Laurel and Hardy. And this was the only one that got an Oscar, and it was Stan's personal favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing happens. They just have to get this piano up the steps into a house, and that's all that happens for 20 minutes.
All right.
But because they're so funny, it doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah.
Or the other one that I love is the one about the picnic, where they're just getting ready for a picnic. And the original idea was that they would start in the home, get in the car, and then the film would start with a picnic. But they had so much fun in the car, getting the car to start, that it took 20 minutes.
All right.
And they thought, this is great, we'll just leave it there, you
Yeah.
know.
Tell the people you don't need the
Oh, it's
yeah.
brilliant. Yeah. It's the bit where the car, they keep saying goodbye, 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 goodbye. And there are literally 3 or 4 moments where they just keep saying goodbye.
Mm.
And they keep trying to start the car and they don't, so it's goodbye. And you give that to any comedian and it's horrifically boring. It's just awful. But the way they do it, it's just magical.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. It makes
Yeah.
me think of a Monty Python movie in the end where the song comes up.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long it lasts, but I have the memory of there's the last song, and when it's
Uh,
near the end, it starts again. And
or in a film.
yeah, in a film. I think it's in a film. It's in one of the film. Or
Oh,
maybe it's
right.
and it goes up to the end again, and it starts again.
Ah,
And
yeah.
then you laugh and you laugh and you're expecting, you're waiting to see, you're anticipating it, and it starts again, and whoa,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
and then you just want to know how long can they keep this up, and your side is
It
hurting.
is. No,
Yeah.
but it's fascinating because in the same Laurel and Hardy film, because I've read that there's one authorized biography of Laurel and Hardy by a
All
guy
right.
called John McCabe, and he knew them personally, and he partly set up the Sons of the Desert,
Mm-hmm.
the sort of fan club,
All right.
and he said it's incredible in that film because there's the guy with his foot in a bandage, and he keeps getting it stuck in the door of the car, and they keep banging it. And he said, it looks stupid and funny, but it takes an incredible amount of skill because they bang that foot about 24 times in less than 20 minutes. And it should be boring, but the way they do it, it just keeps going on and on and on,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you know. Um, no, because it's one of those, it was, yeah, there was something that I saw which was similar and it didn't work. And it was about a guy, and it was a stand-up routine, and he said that he broke his wrist on his right hand,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, what's the worst thing when you break your wrist on your right hand? What is it?
Well, you can
Yeah,
jerk
and
off.
it's like
Yeah,
it's that hilarious comment that everyone, how did you do that? How did you do that, mate? How did you do that?
yeah,
And it was funny, but it just went on and how'd you do that? How'd you do that? And it got to a point where it wasn't funny anymore. Do
yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's a very difficult
Well, it's
thing.
repetition comedy. It's either you do it until it becomes funny and then it's
Yeah.
hilarious, or it's a dud and you do it for a long time and then it doesn't work and it just you
It
just
can
go
be, yeah.
and kill yourself 3 times because it doesn't work.
Yeah, I've had that. The third time when I started doing comedy, I was at university and I did it the first time, and it was so. It was
Right.
all right, but I was satisfied with that because I thought, no one's going to be great straight away,
Sure.
and under the circumstances, it was good as I wanted it to be. The second time was good, but it was good because we were trying to start local television. So everybody in that audience was part of the project. They were being supportive,
Yeah.
right? So even if you were rubbish, they were going to laugh just to make
Yeah.
the project work. And the third time was a disaster. And I stopped doing it for years. And what happened, it was a sort of open audition. And they said, what we're going to do is we're going to have people up here, and it's like they're auditioning to be the MC.
Okay.
So it's going to be a tough crowd if you're doing it. So these people are up there. You in the audience give them a hard time, which I think is a stupid thing to say to an audience. And they actually gave the audience, little party poopers to
All right.
blow if they didn't
Okay.
like it. And the audience is practically every act, after 2 minutes, they're nah, 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 nah. And it completely destroyed me. And after 2 minutes, I just said, right, fuck it, And I stopped doing it for years. And I realized now it was unfortunate. It was unfortunate that I had that experience so early on, because it
Yeah.
is damaging early on. But also it was unfortunate because it's not typical. Audiences are not really hostile. Most audiences are
No.
friendly. They want to have a good time.
Yeah.
And to do a show and to say to the audience, make it shit, is really a very, very strange thing to
Yeah,
do.
because in the end, you're always right. If it was
Yeah,
shit and they had a laugh, see, I told you. And if it was shit, see,
yeah.
I told you it was going to be shit because you made it
No,
shit.
no, exactly,
They always
exactly.
succeed.
And yeah, and when I realized that it's a bit like going to a party. You don't go to a party and say, I hope this is terrible. You go to a party wanting to enjoy it.
Sure.
And when I started to realize that audiences are probably on your side,
Yeah.
because they want to have a good night. And if you bomb, they're evening bombs
Sure.
as well. And when I started so somebody said, I can't remember who it was, he said, you should it's difficult, it's challenging and demanding, but you should try to look at your audience as friends to be entertained,
Sure.
rather than judges to be convinced.
Yeah, it
Do you know
might
what I
be
mean?
like the Mike Rosenfield book. It's probably
Uh-huh.
mastering stand up, like joyous communication. Like you could be
Yeah,
anywhere in the world, but you chose to be that night with those people in that spending that moment
yeah,
together.
yeah,
So like, oh yeah, you were so happy to talk to them. Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
most of the times, audiences they of course they want to have a good time. They want you to have a good time,
yeah,
and
exactly.
at least we in France, where the stand-up culture is really not yet mainstream. It's
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
there, but it's not yet there.
yeah,
People are just amazed that you are, going in front of an audience and talking and
yeah,
trying to make them laugh, and they respect that.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
if it
yeah,
bombs, they go, "Wow!" Well, it was, maybe they don't even say it was shit, but they go, "Wow!" At least you have the courage to
yeah,
do so, and that's a cool thing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But is there a lot of stand up in France? Because in Italy, there's very little.
No, there's a lot. Well, in big towns, you have a few things. I created a comedy club here in Toulouse because
Uh-huh.
there was only two scenes, and when I decided to do comedy, I asked for to go on an open mic, and they said yes,
Uh-huh.
they were really nice, but okay, in 3 months. So what? So I had
Yeah.
to wait 3 months
Yeah.
to go on the open mics, and so I decided to create my own thing. So
Yeah.
like that, and I can go on stage when I want, but still, it's not really the place to be if you want to be
No.
I mean, you have to do the London, and even London is already quite respectable,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
There's much more. In Rome, there's very, very little. Um, my friend and I. Oh, sorry, I'm getting molested by my cat. Hello.
all right, yeah,
Um, my friend and I started up an open mic scene. Well, not scene. We started up an open mic show for that reason, because in Rome, the open mic is not comedy.
oh,
Right, it's open mic,
just
anything goes, and normally people go there to listen to music and
all right,
chat, right? And if you get up in front of an audience and you play, a folk song or an old standard, or even a rock and roll piece, it doesn't matter. If people are talking, it doesn't matter because you can't hear them.
sure,
And when you finish playing, they clap, right? But if you're doing stand up and the audience aren't interested, it's really tough. It's tough just getting them to listen. And when I did these generic open mics, I did it to toughen me up. I thought it's a good experience to do. And I'm not exaggerating. You normally get one person laughing, right? Because it would be, you get about 10 people in the crowd. Half of them are not listening, right? So that's one half gone.
Yeah.
The other ones, maybe there's a language problem. You know, you're doing
Sure.
it in English and they're Italian, or the other way around. You're doing it in Italian, there are foreigners going out. And then there's somebody who understands what you're saying but doesn't understand the humor. Then there's somebody who understands the humor but doesn't find it funny. And I'm not exaggerating. You normally get one person laughing
Wow.
at the end. But I like that. I like that because there was another show I did and I just got bored of doing it because everybody in the audience was on your side. And it was nice because you had a good night, but it got boring because I knew that even if I was terrible, they'd just give me a nice round of applause.
Yeah.
So basically in Rome, there was the generic open mic. Then there was open mic Italian comedy, but it's a mafia. It's a little clique. They
Yeah.
have their favorite performers, and if they don't like you, nobody lets you on. There were literally like 3 or 4 people, and I argued with one of them once. I said I didn't like the way they were running it, and by a strange coincidence, nobody ever telephoned me again.
There you go.
And then there was one English open mic, but because it was the only one, they wouldn't let you on and it was once a month, which is nothing. It was just once a month. And even once a month, you weren't guaranteed a spot because they were overbooked because it was the only one. So they tried to give everybody a chance. So I'm not exaggerating. When I started doing it, I was lucky to get one opportunity a month.
All right.
Right? Um, and obviously, if you're only doing it once a month, you're not stimulated to keep writing because you
No.
think, well, what's the point? I'm not going to perform it. And by the time I perform, it's going to be out of date anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
Current events. Yeah.
yeah. So like the great thing about all these Zoom gigs, like before Zoom, I was doing like one a month. With Zoom, I can do one a day if I want to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
or certainly like 3 or 4 a week.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually, the Zoom thing is like the timing is not good. Well, you say your line, and the time it travels to the audience, and they laugh, and it
Yeah,
comes back to you. It's 25 minutes, and you
it,
go,
it, it took a bit of getting used to.
yeah,
Yeah, it took a bit of getting used to. Also because my stand up is very much, that's the laugh line.
yeah,
If you watch something like The Office, it's very subtle and you could laugh at different bits,
sure.
but my comedy, this is where you're supposed to laugh. And with Zoom, they used to put it on mute, and it was really quite strange, to sort of say this, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, and nothing
And
happens. Yeah,
yeah, which I should be used to anyway. But
yeah.
but the great thing about Zoom is that I don't know about you, but I don't get stage fright with Zoom.
Well, I've only I've done a couple of things on
Yeah.
Zoom, but yeah, no. Well, I don't really get stage fright at all. I just go, I don't,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
cool.
yeah, that's cool. I took up all the embarrassment I could when I was a kid, so it doesn't really. I don't
You've
care
got it
anymore.
away now.
Yes.
That's fine.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool. My first stand up appearance. They told me 8 or 9 minutes, and I said, "Well,
Yeah.
wave at me. Otherwise, I'll carry on." Because my my
Oh,
my
cool.
my thing was just okay. I just want to see how I will feel like. I
Yeah.
yeah, I had some ideas, but just to see how it feels like, and it felt good.
Mm.
So I was there. 15 minutes later, I was still on stage, and the
They
guys,
go
get
on
the
and on.
fuck out of here. And I said, "All righty then."
I
I
actually
Why didn't you say so?
that there was an open mic in Italian, and they gave you 4 minutes, which I think is stupid. 4 minutes. I don't think for 4 minutes on Zoom you could possibly do it, but if it's a live show,
No.
it's at least 1 minute just getting there, waiting for the applause to die down.
Yeah.
And after 3 minutes they gave you the light.
Wow.
And I'm not exaggerating. There was the first time I did it, I had like a whole page of A4 paper ready, and I did literally the first 3 jokes. That was
Yeah.
all I managed to get through before the time was up.
Yeah.
and they used to physically pull you off if you went over. Yeah.
Let's shoot you. That'll be entertainment. And now.
No, but I can understand it in a sense, because there was the open mic that we did. Unfortunately, with COVID, it's been suspended, and there was one guy that he did annoy me, right? Because he was up there for 15 minutes, and there were a lot of acts to get through, right?
Yeah.
There were about 10 acts, and if everybody does 15 minutes, and it annoyed me because he went on and on and on. And what really annoyed me was that he came with a bunch of friends, and his friends were just talking through everybody else.
Oh, yeah,
And then his
that's
bit, they were being
yeah.
ordered.
Yeah, that we do some Zoom like chronicles and stuff here,
Yeah,
and yeah, you ask 3 or 4 friends to come and see you, see your thing, and
yeah,
then everybody's just waiting for their horse to run, and when
yeah,
someone
yeah,
else is on, they
yeah,
don't care, and then so they just turn on the mic to clap. Oh, well done, well done,
yeah.
and then just turn it off and
Well,
order
no, because
pizza, stuff like that.
I remember that there was one open mic show, and there was a girl there. Well, I didn't think she was very funny, you know. And everybody, there was this table in front. They were just creasing up at everything she said, and I thought that's weird.
Yeah,
And then of course what happened was well, the minute she finished, I understood, because she went off stage and she sat down in the middle of the table, so she's got
yeah,
all her friends to sit there,
yeah, yeah,
so which I think is a complete waste of. It's like joke theft. I can't see the point of joke theft, because there's no satisfaction in the laugh.
no,
you
no,
know
no,
that
no, just do that, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
also
but
the thing,
go on, go on.
no, but the other thing about joke theft is that if you're not established, if you're working at my level and you steal from an established comedian, the possibility that no one's going to know. I mean, and you got to feel it's the kind of thing you don't live down either. Joke theft, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So,
I've heard of one guy. It might become a student who he did his first appearance, and there's this joke, and he's doing standard jokes
yeah,
like
yeah,
at the madhouse. There's the tub is full of water, and you can how do you empty it? It's for the mad people to be able to go out. So one was a little cup, the other one had the bucket.
yeah,
And well, I told him, well, I would choose the bucket. And said, well, no, take the plug.
yeah,
And people laughed at that and said, "What the fuck is
yeah,
this?"
yeah. There
Oh
was
man.
about 2 months ago, I did a festival. Right, it's the first time I've done a festival, and I didn't get through to the final part. But they say it doesn't matter, because all the people that performed can have a little sort of mini contest. So you don't get through to the finals, but you can
Sure.
have a contest among yourselves. And there was one guy, the guy who won, and it was so obvious he just won because he got all his friends to vote for him.
Sure.
And what annoyed me was that I don't think he was very strong as a performer, but a good percentage of his jokes I'd heard before.
Yeah, that's so
Um,
sad. Ah.
yeah, and there's a difference. There's a difference between being influenced by a style or structuring a joke in the same way as somebody else, but you can tell when it's stolen because it's word for word the same.
Yeah, yeah.
You
But
know?
sometimes you can steal the mechanism of a joke, and that's
Yeah,
fine. And then you use that or the
yeah,
same, misdirection or something, and you use it for something else. That is
yeah.
fine. But when you know it and you see it coming, and you say, "Oh man,"
Oh yeah,
it's like I've been writing comedy for people on Fiverr for a
yeah.
year now. Yeah, a year. And these people, like this guys, it's like their first stand up, their second stand up, and they're
Hmm.
asking me to write jokes for them. And so,
No, no, no.
and was one guy, he wanted jokes about retirement in America, so I wrote jokes, and he tells me, well, the jokes were okay, but they weren't great. I'll have to tweak
Hmm.
them. And he wanted to bully me into into writing more jokes for him, because
Uh,
what I did was, it was okay, but it wasn't great. And I was like, is this guy serious? you
yeah,
know you don't want to write your own material. You have no idea how to write comedy.
yeah,
You say that what I do is crap. You don't test it in front of an audience,
yeah, yeah.
and then it's like, oh. And then of course, that guy, you could write him, I don't know, you could copy a bit from Eddie Murphy, from Raw, or from Delirious or
Yeah,
something. You
yeah.
write it down, you send it to him, and he goes, "No, this is all right. It's not great, you know."
You know,
Yeah.
it's hilarious because I did a little experiment a few years ago. This is so funny. I put because I often put my jokes on Facebook because I'm a terrible judge of what's funny, and very
Mhm.
often something I think is hilarious gets silence, and something I think is rubbish gets a big laugh. And the nice thing about Facebook is you can kind of gauge reactions, and if you
Right.
like something and nobody reacts, you know.
Yeah.
And I did a little experiment. This is absolutely true. And I put one of my jokes on Facebook and I didn't get any reaction. And I waited till people would have forgotten and I deleted it. And then I put exactly the same joke. And as an experiment, I wrote, old Jimmy Carr joke. What do you think? And it was, oh, that's brilliant. I love Jimmy Carr.
Oh yeah, that's a funny thing. That's a funny thing you say
You
because
know, and
yeah.
my personal favorite was, yeah, I remember when he said that.
Oh right. Oh,
Yeah, but
well
it's a
done.
sort
Yeah.
of it's a security net, isn't it? If you're an established
It's a
comedian,
comedy brand, and
people,
that's what Scott Dickers says when he says how
yeah,
to write funny and all that. And it's
yeah,
it's the comedy brand. Once you have a comedy brand, people are more likely to laugh at your stuff because they're
yeah,
comfortable with
yeah.
your brand.
There's a very good book, and if you haven't read it, I can recommend it. It's Teach Yourself Stand-Up Comedy by a guy called Logan Murray. He,
All
he
right.
does a lot of courses in England. He teaches. He's quite he's very respected in that sector. And he said that a lot of stand-up comedy is not telling jokes, it's about having a strong personality.
Yeah.
And he said, if you take a subject, make the subject as specific as possible. You know, so don't say restaurants.
Yeah.
Say the gherkin in a McDonald's hamburger that I had last week, right? Really
Yeah.
specific. And then have a strong reaction. Your character, if you're sarcastic, if you're loving, if you're friendly, if you're naive. And he said, if you can work those things, you'd be surprised how easy it is to write routines.
Yeah.
Because if you just sit down and say, right, think of a joke, it's impossible,
No.
you know.
Mm.
Because I think most of the funniest ideas just come from reality, you
Oh
know,
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
normal.
Some stuff you might yes, there's a story I tell often. I met a girl on Tinder and we were about to have sex. We were going to her place and we get undressed, and she tells me, "Hey, you should lose some weight, man." Oh fuck me,
I've,
wow.
I've I've never understood why people are proud to meet people on Tinder because it can't be difficult. That's what it's for, you know.
Oh yeah,
You know, Tinder, what a
it's statistics. It's what I always said. Well, yeah, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. You just keep shooting, and some you'll kill one eventually.
yeah.
And
Well, no,
yeah,
but it does because like there's a line that I had that it normally gets a laugh, and I have this thing that I'm obsessed with the Spice Girls, right? And I'm not. It's just something that came about as it started as a joke.
hmm
Because what one of my favorite series is the Young Ones, and I love the fact in the Young Ones that Rick thinks he's an anarchist and he's really hard and
hmm
politically right on and dangerous, but he's obsessed with Cliff Richard,
right,
right? Who's like the least rock and
yeah,
roll star, you know. And I always thought that was funny, and I just thought it would be funny for a middle-aged man to be obsessed with the Spice Girls,
yeah,
right? You know, a middle-aged man obsessed with pop music, you know, obsessed with Led Zeppelin, obsessed with
yeah,
Deep Purple. That's not funny. Obsessed with the Spice Girls, I think, could be very funny, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I just remember there's one line that I always think is funny, and the Spice Girls had a film, Spice World,
hmm
and everybody who saw the film Spice World said they came out of the cinema and they said it's not very good. And I'm like, of course it's not very fucking good. It's a Spice Girls film, you know what? What are you
Yeah,
expecting? I
yeah,
thought, you know,
exactly. No,
Ingmar Bergman. But the
yeah,
thing is that line, which I think is very funny, it came out of a real conversation that I had because the subject came up, and so a friend of mine, he said, yeah, I went to see the Spice Girls film. It's not very good. And it just struck me, isn't that just the funniest thing to say? Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck you're expecting?
Yeah. When you bought the tickets,
Sort of,
what
Ken
else
Loach
was on?
social commentary, Ingmar Bergman psychology,
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
expect so much more from the girls,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
No, but
the latest show of Seinfeld is the stand up. Does it suck? Yes. Is it great? Yes. The great and sucks. Oh, does it suck? I thought it was great. No, it sucked.
yeah.
Oh man. And it's that,
Uh,
if you are obsessed with the Spice Girls, it's a great movie. It sucks, yeah, but it's
exactly.
great, yeah,
No,
because
but
you
it's the
love it.
same. It's like biographies, It's like because biographies, if you're not interested in the person, they're the most
Yeah.
boring film you could
That'll be funny.
possibly
Like,
have.
yeah, punish people. Now you'll
Oh
be
yeah.
punished. You'll watch the biography of someone you never heard about, and you go, "Oh, all right,
Well, it's
okay."
very strange because in England, I've never understood this. There's a classic of literature called Cider with Rosie.
No, no idea.
I don't know. It's very nice, and it's the autobiography. It's memoirs
Oh, right, yeah,
of a guy called Laurie Lee,
okay,
and Laurie Lee is famous for writing this book, which I don't understand because an autobiography should be of somebody who's famous already,
yeah,
right? You're famous because you did something else. You're
yeah,
famous because you're a great tennis player.
yeah,
And then, but he's famous for writing his autobiography, which I think is really strange. It's like, you read this autobiography? Yeah, why is he famous? Because he wrote this.
yeah. There's some people like celebrity. There's celebrity reality shows. They put
Yeah,
they're yeah famous because they're a celebrity. All right
yeah.
then. Okay.
Famous for being famous.
Yeah, and
Yeah, famous for being famous. Yeah, but I mean, it depends. Yeah, but it depends what level of interest you have.
mm,
I mean,
mm,
it's like with the Beatles when they brought out the anthology, and the first anthology is not particularly good because they
mhm.
were very young and they were just learning to play. But the point is, if you're not obsessed with the Beatles, don't fucking buy it.
Yeah, what's the point? Yeah,
If
yeah,
you're not if you like the Beatles but you're not obsessive, just buy the compilations. There are some great compilations on the market.
yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah. But
like
they always yank out something like for the diehard fans or for the dad or for the mom, and there's
it's infinite.
yeah, it's
It is
every year at
infinite. Yeah.
Christmas there'll be a new
Oh yeah.
remastered and improved, and it's for Christmas. Oh, you
Yeah,
go.
but how many times can you improve on perfection? That's what I
Yeah,
don't
that's the
understand. Every
thing.
time
It's
it's
just
like even better,
even
even
better,
better.
new and improved.
Well, yeah, but it's
Yeah,
like there are some. It's like Joy Division, right?
yeah, I've heard
Joy
about it. Yeah,
Division did 2 albums, but there are 6 million,
exactly.
re-releases. There are only so many times you can hear the same story.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and it's like John Lennon. I mean, John Lennon, with the Beatles, yeah, but after the Beatles, he didn't do a lot of material.
no,
There are about 5 albums, which is not very much when you consider how many compilations they've. It's just Yoko. Yoko hasn't got enough money yet. So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Of course, yeah. Someone told me a joke about uh, Yoko. I don't know.
Good.
The, because I don't know why did the Beatles break up? Because one of them thought Yoko could sing. I don't know. It was something like that.
My favorite one. It's a bit cruel, but it's what's small, round, and lives off dead Beatles. Yoko.
All right, that's a funny one. That's
Yeah. Because I had one which you get into a lot of trouble with the gypsies,
oh,
right? Because what people don't understand is that gypsies in Rome are not like gypsies anywhere else,
right.
right? And in England, gypsies, they have their culture. You have your culture. But in Rome, they're different because they're intrusive and they steal and they're very, and there was one joke, it's horrible, but I couldn't help laughing. It was, what's small, hairy, and lives in your back pocket? A
Oh.
gypsy in Rome. If you don't live in Rome, it's horrible. But if you live
Yeah.
in, it's very funny.
All right. Yeah.
But it is.
I was
But
talking to a comedian the other day doing the same here, and she told me a joke. What the difference between a tire and a black guy? And I said no, and she goes, "Well, when you put chains on them, the tire doesn't start singing the blues." It's
yeah,
oh man,
good.
and you're laughing. Oh, because
Oh,
it's
it's horrible. Yeah.
technically because you're laughing because it's a technically brilliant joke.
It
After
is good, yeah,
it is
but
good,
it's just
but
yeah.
technically it's good.
No, because
But
there's one that I think is funny, which is it's what's the difference between my mother's vagina and my mother's living room? You take your shoes off before you come in the living room.
oh,
No, but there was one. It's very very funny because I saw this gay comedian here in Rome, and I'm not easily offended, but I thought it was really quite crude. And it was all about. He said I used to work as a masseuse, and essentially the routine was that he was massaging a guy, and it was really quite disgusting because he gets the guy to ejaculate without even touching him, right? And I thought it was really gross. It wasn't even funny. But because he was gay, it was like, oh, that's funny, oh, yeah, cute. And I thought if that was a straight man talking about a woman, you'd kick his head in,
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I
It's
got,
his
I got a
license.
pussy, I got a pussy wet without even touching it. Oh, for fuck's sake, So,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
it's
That's
no,
some
but it
license
is.
you can
Mhm.
have if you're black, if you're fat, if you're
Yeah.
thin, if whatever. You can do
Oh
all
yeah.
sorts.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like gay people, make jokes about being gay, and I'm if it was a straight person up there saying the same things, oh God. No, because there was one. I don't know if you've heard of Andrew Dice Clay.
No.
Andrew Dice Clay is just like the most horrible comedian who's ever lived. He's sexist, he's racist, he's disgusting. But the whole point is that's his thing. And if you don't like it, don't go and watch him.
Sure.
You know
There's
what
no
I mean?
point.
Because I always think it's funny that people go to watch Andrew Dice Clay because he still works. He's a cult, right? He
Mhm.
started in the 80s, but he still gets bookings because he's got a cult audience.
Yeah.
And I always think it's funny people go and watch him and come out and say that was really offensive. And
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, mate, if you're easily offended,
Yeah, this might not
you
be
know,
the best place to.
go and watch Bambi at the cinema at Christmas because it's not for you.
Yeah.
And he did this thing about gay people. I'm not going to quote it because I get my head kicked in, but you can find it on YouTube. It's Andrew Dice Clay talking about gays. And it's so horrible, but you reach a point you can't help laughing because it's just like he sort of goes beyond taste at one
All
point.
right. Beyond. I love that. That's very, very,
It's not,
very British.
yeah,
Oh, that
it's
was
not
beyond
even it's
taste.
not even bad taste anymore. It's just
It
the
was so
taste is not.
unnecessary.
Yeah, it's just don't do that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah, it's funny
I'm
too.
just
Again, it's like this the Sarah Silverman joke when she says that her little niece calls her and says, "Hey, Auntie, did you know that Hitler killed 60 million Jews?" And she
yeah.
goes, "No, it was 6 million." And the other one, she goes, "Well, what's the difference between 6 million and 60 million Jews?" She goes, "Well, 60 million is unforgivable." And she can say that because her persona is a racist Jew and she's Jewish and
Yeah,
she can do
yeah.
whatever. And when she
Oh,
tells her
yeah.
she has a mixed race boyfriend and she tells him, you know, that you would be a really expensive slave, and then he gets offended and she dumps him because he's, always concerned about himself. Everything has to be about him. And she was
Yeah,
giving him a
yeah.
compliment and he's an asshole.
No, because there was a half caste comedian. Because I'm half caste, but I look white, right? And he's half caste, he looks black, right?
Right.
And he used to have a joke where he said I'm not actually black, I'm half caste, I'm half black, I'm black from the waist down,
All righty then. Yay.
which was cool. But if I made a joke like that, I think people would be very uncomfortable with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's the thing. When you're yeah, you don't really have any right to say anything. But
yeah,
it gets tiring here. You get you get you get black comedians
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about being black and Muslim or Arab comedians
yeah,
telling, and it's like the Uncle Tom routine, whatever. It's going on and on and on. Say, oh, okay, what's this guy? He's a black comedian. Let's see what he's talking about. Oh, he's talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
being black. Oh, well, okay, we get you black. Give us some,
yeah. It's
you
it's
know.
like uh, it's like Muslim. There's a guy that I've seen a few times. He's a Muslim comedian. I think he's very good. But it's funny because the minute he goes on stage, because he's got like a beard
Yeah,
and he looks like a stereotype Muslim. And the minute he opens his mouth without even trying, people just laugh because they can see the stereotype that he's sending up.
yeah,
I mean, I think it's fascinating, for example, with men and women. Because I think that comedy now, when I was growing up, because I'm nearly 50, right? I can remember 80s comedy, and it was very sexist.
Yeah.
I mean, Benny Hill, right? There are two types of women in Benny Hill. There's the grandma and the page three girl, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Even Kenny Everett, I don't, Kenny Everett was fun. It was always like boobies,
No, I don't know.
and the two Ronnies,
Yeah.
etc. And in the 90s, it was great because there was more kind of equality, and there were lots of like Joe Brand, French and Saunders, Victoria Wood.
Yeah.
And I think now we've gone to another extreme. And I actually think there's more hatred from women against men.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's like women, when women get up on stage and they absolutely demolish men, my ex, my boyfriend, and if it was a man criticizing women, because it's really funny, it's really funny. There was a lady that I used to know. She used to run a show here in Rome. And when you run a show, everybody's nice to you because they don't want to lose an opportunity.
Sure.
It happened to me when I started running a show. People that never paid any attention. It was not
Yeah.
And she was always demolishing men. Every man in her life. Blind date, ex, boyfriend, and I can take a joke, but it was getting venomous. It was morbid.
Mm.
And the funny part is that everybody who saw her for the first time commented on how ugly she is.
Oh.
I didn't. I
No.
just thought it, but I didn't say it.
Yeah. There you go. It's
Right.
very nice.
And I remember it's brilliant. She was in the middle of her 6 millionth, no man is good enough for me routine. And my mate couldn't stand it anymore. And he shouted out, "Looked in the mirror lately, Megan fucking Fox." um, I'm glad you're laughing because I laughed, but everybody else in the room just went totally silent and got, "Oh my God, you can't talk like that." And the guy actually got banned
Oh.
from coming back. And the reason he got banned was because they said it was sexist, right? And for me, it's not sexist, right?
No. No.
You could say it's rude, but you're forgetting the context. This is a woman who'd been demolishing men for months.
Oh, yeah, but there's some
Don't kick
license.
it out if you can't take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be sexist. It would be sexist if I was working in an office and there was a secretary who was very nice and ugly, and I said something like that. That would be sexist. But I think in the context, it was well deserved.
Sure.
But
Sure.
unfortunately,
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a license. There was a sketch about that. I think, not sure who it was. Maybe I think it was Chappelle. Maybe not sure. I was saying that okay, well, poor people can make fun of rich people, but rich people cannot make fun of poor people.
yeah, it's true.
Fat people can
true,
make
yeah.
fun of skinny people. Skinny people cannot make fun of fat people. So, like, imagine.
But I think fat people is a bit of a different. It's a different thing because I think a lot of people we don't have a problem with that. Laughing at fat people.
Yeah. But you have to be careful when you're a comedian because you can be it's the same. Women can make fun of men. Men cannot make fun of women.
Yeah.
That's the thing because it's it's the air of the time. It's like and of course women spend so much time being made fun of, but that shouldn't give them the right to.
Yeah, but it does. You see, that's the thing because a lot of the time it's very strange because I do a lot of material demolishing men and nobody minds, and I do some jokes against women and people don't like it. And there was one particular thing I did about women, and when I do it now, I balance it with anti-men stuff before and after.
Right, the shit sandwich.
You have to, because if I get up and take the piss out of everybody, it's okay. If I take the piss out of just men, that's great because it's self-irony. But if I attack women, it's like, oh my God, don't say it. So, but I didn't want to lose the routine because I liked it. So I just decided to balance it off by hating everybody, not just women. So
yeah, it's like Don Rickle kind of thing, this you're black, oh, gonna make fun of you, Chinese, Jew, Italian, Irish, whatever. I'll make fun of everyone. I'll insult everything and apologize. Maybe I don't have time to insult all of you or to offend all of you, but I'll do my best.
Yeah. Who's that? Is it Russell Peters?
Yeah, Russell Peters. Maybe
I think Russell Peters is quite racist because he's black. It's funny. There was one where I can't remember. He's very funny, Russell Peters. He's a black guy, which is why he gets away with it. And there was once where there were a couple of black people in the audience, and he said something like, "That's that's the laundrette clothes this evening," or something like that, because you're here. And if it was a white person, that would have been very offensive.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like in my podcast, I talk about the word nigger, and the one thing that you know, uh, and
Yeah.
I just that, oh, you have to say the N word. Why? It's a word, man. You know.
Well, one of the funniest things I read, it was about Joseph Conrad's "The Nigger of the Narcissus."
You're right. Don't know.
Right? It's a book. It's a classic of American literature, but it was written about 100 years ago.
Right.
Right, language has changed, and it's a classic book. It's up there with Hemingway, and
Hmm.
Conrad is up there with Hemingway, and Fitzgerald, and it's really bad. But I couldn't help laughing because it was in Wikipedia, and it said when Joseph Conrad submitted the manuscript, The Nigger of the Narcissus, to the publishers, they objected to the word nigger in the title.
All right.
Not because they found it offensive, but because they thought a book about a black man would not sell.
All righty. That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah.
It's so funny. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
Well,
it's like, well, why is it offensive? Because the N word? No, because it's about a black man, you see.
yeah. Exactly. No, and we don't want that. Don't
Yeah.
sending out the
Well,
wrong
no, but
message to
my
people.
grandparents, right? People would say my grandparents were racist. They were just ignorant.
Yeah.
Ignorant doesn't mean stupid. It just means there are things you're not aware of.
Sure.
It's that I like languages, but I'm ignorant of Russian. Doesn't mean I'm stupid. I'm not good at languages. Just and my grandparents, lovely people, but they were brought up in a little village in the north of England, and they'd never seen a foreigner.
Sure.
And when we went down to London, right? Because in England, and Americans have a very cool attitude to space. They can travel for hours to say hi for 10 minutes and then travel
Yeah.
home for a bunch of hours. And in England, a long journey is 3 hours is like hell for us.
Yeah.
And they used to think of games to keep us as kids occupied, right? And one of the games was, like count the pub sign or
Hmm.
count the squirrel. They had count the black person when we got into London.
All right.
How many black? Oh, there's another one. Yeah, put it down in your little list. And it was not malicious. It was just that they were so ignorant. For them, it was something they'd never seen. So
Yeah. Well, it was funny when I lived in Penzance for 6 months,
mm-hmm.
and there was one black guy in town, and I was always
Yeah.
seeing, oh, there I didn't know him personally, but I noticed him
Yeah, but you
each
do.
time. Oh, there he is.
You
There is a black
register.
guy. And then I moved to Bury near Manchester, and in the
Mm.
neighborhood I was living in, there was 3 white people. So me and the 2 guys I shared the flat with. Everybody else was
Uh-huh.
from India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, whatever, in the whole
Yeah.
neighborhood. And you go, wow. I mean, I was coming from Portugal, where none of seeing guys with beards and turbans and all those.
Yeah.
Go,
I mean, it's just it's a
you
different,
just don't know it. Yeah.
different period. It doesn't mean you're malicious or
Yeah,
anything like
you
that.
just look like a peasant, watching coming
You
to town.
register it. You
Yeah.
register it, yeah, because you do register these things. Because there was this. It was very funny because the girl that I was talking about before that everybody says is ugly. I remember I used to work. I used to work with her outside the comedy, and there was a student. It was out of town. I was teaching, and I had to go out of town, but it was worth it because it was a complete day of work,
Right.
and I got a free lunch, so I thought it's worth it,
Yeah.
And when I teach English, and because you teach languages, I'm sure, and
Mhm.
when I teach English in a company, I keep myself to myself. I don't chat to people
Yeah.
because they always ask the same questions. Why did you come to Italy? What do you miss? Or they just want a free conversation lesson,
Yeah.
right? So I don't really talk to them. But when this girl was here, right, this lady, I used to chat to her because it was a different thing.
Sure.
And there was a student of mine, a lady, and it's a good job it was a woman, because if it was a guy, it would have been bad. And she said, who is that ugly woman with the irritating voice that you talk to?
Wow.
And I explained, I said, oh, it's a friend of mine from comedy. We used to do a comedy show together. And she said, yeah, Michael, because I've noticed something about you, which is that you don't talk to people very much. You know, you're quite reserved, but with her, you're very relaxed. And I said, yeah, well, she's easy to talk to.
Mm.
And this lady says, well, yeah, because it's psychology, isn't it? I said, what do you mean psychology? And she said, well, when a man talks to a woman, he's always a bit nervous because he's asking himself that question, would I or wouldn't I? All right.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're a pervert. If you see a handicapped person, you register the fact they're handicapped. So when a man talks to a man, when a man talks to a woman, right, he's asking himself that question, and it makes the conversation a bit awkward.
Yeah.
But I would imagine with her, you're relaxed because it's a kind of question you wouldn't even dream of asking.
She doesn't know men.
Right? It's like
You
she's
don't know
off the
man.
scale. It wouldn't even occur to you in your wildest dreams to say yes. And I said, that's
Yes.
possibly the rudest thing I've heard in my entire life. It's a good
Yeah.
job you're a woman, because if you're a
Yeah.
man, then really.
Because look at my dick.
The dick is a
It's,
barometer of
yeah,
sexual
exactly.
attraction.
Come and have a look. This is hard as this will ever get, man. Yeah, I had the same. I talked
What?
to girl comedians on these interviews,
Yeah.
and there's one girl, she does burlesque,
Oh, yeah.
and I, having a look at what I was doing, I see naked pictures of her online, and then I'm talking to her, and then all of a sudden I'm extra careful of what I'm saying, because I don't want to give the impression that I'm a pervert or that I'm trying to
Yeah.
seduce her or something.
Is it
It is
burlesque?
there. There's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
It's there,
Yeah.
whether you want it or not. So you have to be, either you are self-conscious. Okay, maybe let's not
Yeah.
say this because she might think I'm,
Well, because
or
normally, not
something.
normally, you imagine people naked. With her, it's the opposite. You have to imagine her with the clothes
Yeah,
on
put your clothes on. Let me.
because you're not
Yeah,
used to it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I know. No, but it's cool. You know, no, there's a guy that I know. He used to work in a strip club. It was a waiter, and he said it's fascinating because he said if you don't know the sex industry, if you're outside, you think that it's men degrading women, and he said it's the opposite.
yeah,
Right, it's the opposite. You know, he said if you don't know the reality, you think it's men creating this system to make women look stupid, and these women are victims and they're desperate for money. They have to make fools of themselves.
yeah,
And he says it's the opposite. He said most of these women they're just very, very lazy and cynical, and they don't want to have a proper job, and they just want to make maximum money for minimum work. And he said you actually feel sorry for the men that go there.
yeah,
You know, it's actually the man who's humiliated, because it's not a very proud moment of your life. This is
no,
all. And the saddest thing is that the men who go there tend to be successful. They're not desperate. It's not
yeah,
like they're the dregs with nothing to do. They have the money to do it.
yeah,
And you really do have to swallow your pride to queue up outside the toilets afterwards. That's really not a proud moment of your
mm,
life. You know, going, can I come in, please? Have you finished? You know.
yeah.
So, there's a guy has to clean those toilets as well, but
Oh man.
that's a
All
good job, isn't it?
righty.
Yeah. But I respect him more than the women, because at least he's doing a job, you know. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah. Sure, sure, sure. It is working. Yeah.
someone has to do it, yeah. No, but your attitudes change, you know. When I was a teenager, I was convinced that, you know, like pornography was like degrading to women. I think it's the opposite. I think there's women making fools of men.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Your dick on legs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
turning us
dudes
into
in.
this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, but you can't help it. You can't
Yeah.
help it. I remember once. I was moving house and I was throwing all this stuff out, and I found some old, you know, soft porn magazines, and I thought, well, you know, I wasn't feeling sexy. I was really bored and tired, and I thought, well, before I throw them out and have a last look, after 6 pages, ding, you can't help it.
There
It's
you
biological,
go.
really.
The seventh page is glued to the eighth
Yeah,
page.
that's right.
This is how far I got.
Got my hand stuck. Got my hand stuck. Yeah. Ah, it was horrible. Yeah, yeah. But you see, this is fascinating that we're having this conversation, because 20 years ago you couldn't,
Yeah.
right? And when I was growing up, anything, you know, anything sexual was completely taboo.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because I'm a teacher, and when I was at school, you know, you just couldn't talk about it. And when I was at school, if you had any interest in pornography, you were a pervert,
Mm.
right? Which is strange because now people say it's the only thing that all men have in common. And number two, you're a misogynist. That was the other thing, because you didn't respect women because you just degraded them into objects for your own satisfaction.
Wow.
And no, really,
I guess
I had a religion, which means that every man is a misogynist at this point.
someone tells you that, so well, I'll put my dick away if that is the case.
Yeah, you can cut it off.
I won't.
My
Yeah.
penis, yeah. Well, I actually had a religion teacher when I was 14, and he said the masturbation is a sign of Satan, and if you masturbate, you're letting Satan into your life. And you say that now, it's almost funny. It's such a stupid thing to say. But, in 1986, saying that to a group of 30-year-olds, what a bastard.
Yeah.
He must have been getting a real kick out of that, making us all feel
jacking
stupid.
off afterwards.
Yeah. Ironically, yeah. Well, he did used to get into the showers with the kids. I remember that. So.
All righty then. There we go.
Yeah. That's like crazy, isn't it? Nowadays. Well, but it's strange, that was the mentality. And there's a kid I'm still teaching now. Every English person in Rome teaches. You have to, right? It doesn't mean anything. And he's about 15, this kid, and I've been teaching him for about 4 years on and off. And it's the opposite. He can talk about anything, and it's not like morbid in the other extreme, but he's perfectly happy to talk about his sexual preferences, that sort of thing. If the subject comes up. So I prefer this extreme to the other one. I think,
Now things have changed. When I was in England in 2001, I worked at the YMCA. I was a volunteer. I was at the YMCA, and I was supposed to be doing kids programs after school programs, stuff like that. And then they got cancelled because I was the only one with the kids. I said, but why did you do it? No, because you can't be alone with a child in England.
Yeah.
I go, what? Why? I was grabbing the kids, throwing them on some pillows and stuff, and saying, no, you can't. So weirdos.
This is fascinating because when I was at school, my favorite teacher, I can still remember him now, so he must have made an impression on me. And it was my English teacher, and he was the only teacher I've ever had who could get the balance right between respect and having fun. You could muck around with him. The kids loved him. It was really popular, but there was a point where you had to shut up and study, and he was not afraid to punish. Once he got the entire class to come back after school, so he could be hard when he wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was a kid, I was a very problematic teenager, and I used to chat to him after lessons, right? And I don't know if it was just natural for him to be friendly, or maybe he realized that I kind of needed to communicate with somebody. And it was really good. And he was a great teacher. And he actually he volunteered to teach me individually in the sixth form because they couldn't fit me into the timetable. And he was prepared to find, he didn't earn any more money. It was his job, and he was that dedicated. Right. And I was thinking recently, isn't it a pity that now that kind of teacher would probably be viewed with suspicion?
Oh yeah, that's true.
If I was 13 and I came home late because I've been chatting for 10 minutes with my teacher, why are you late? Why? I was talking, really? Oh my God, did he touch you? What did he talk about? And I'm convinced there was nothing like that on his mind. He was just a very, positive, kind-hearted person. And we've gone to this other extreme now.
Yeah.
Where you can't express any kind of emotion or or kindness or
Yeah, it's weird. It's making me think about the Ricky Gervais joke. Make something up. and what happened? Nothing. I'll make something up.
Right. No, my favorite pedo is Jimmy Carr. Have you heard that one?
No.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. He says I was raised Catholic. Yeah. He said when I was 8 years old, I had to go to church. You know what I hated about church when I was 8 years old? It was all that standing up and sitting down and kneeling. I wish the priest would just choose a position and fuck me.
That's a really cool one.
That is good.
Really cool.
I had a lot of pedo.
Yeah,
there's one of mine which was it says in the Bible, love your neighbor, That's why the priest moved next to the kindergarten.
Oh, that's a cool one.
I had a lot of those jokes. Yeah, I got banned actually for that. But anyway, never mind.
Righty.
All right, man.
Thank you very much for this.
That's
This
all right.
is
That
a
was
very,
interesting.
very comedian kind of thing.
That's cool.
So
That's cool.
for the initiated, and so it's cool. Yeah, it's like
yeah. Thanks for that, man.
Yeah, it's cool. It was ever since I started having lessons. I did the Greg Dean courses, 2 terms with the I think it's Los Angeles anyway.
Yeah.
And when you hang out with comedians, it's the best because it's like this energy, this kind of
we talk about, share things.
Yeah.
It's a never ending. It's a never ending experience, It's never ending learning.
Yeah, and people who are not into comedy, or they just no. And you want to have a joke at them, you have a stab at them, and they go, "Oh, that's offensive."
It's good, yeah. Well, no, because there was there's an Australian comedian, Sarah Kendall. I don't know if you've heard of her.
I think I've heard of her. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the first shows I saw when I got back into comedy here in Rome. She was very good, and she was actually interviewed in the book that I mentioned by Logan Murray, and she said, when I started doing comedy, I felt like I was in a vacuum. And I couldn't talk about it, and it was something I had to do. And then when I started going on tour with established acts, I was too shy to talk to them. And then I realized it was the opposite. They're very happy to share their ideas, because it's such a sort of niche thing. It's not like football. I mean, how many guys like football chat about football? And she said, if you show like an established comedian that you're genuinely interested in what they do, and you'd be surprised how open they are.
Yeah.
They're very willing to talk and to share. So it's always interesting,
Yeah, it's cool. So yeah, if anytime you come to France, we'll do an English thing.
Yeah, if you come to the Eternal City.
Oh yeah, I've been there, but I wasn't into comedy at the moment.
Yeah.
That moment. So
we've got Farm Comedy Club. It's
Farm.
What we do, yeah. Farm, yeah, because it was based on the idea of Funny Farm.
Okay.
Originally, but I think the Funny Farm had already been taken about 6 million times, so we dropped the funny bit. Not completely.
Farm.
Yeah.
The farm.
The farm.
The farm.
It's like a pop group or something, don't it?
Yeah. All right, Joe. Thank you so much for being here.
That's all right. Thanks to you, man.
It was really cool.
I'll speak to you soon. Have fun.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Bye.